And news on Monday, you probably heard this, world number 6 Ludvig Åberg from Sweden revealed that he is dealing with a knee injury and needed to withdraw from the signature event. In his statement, Åberg said, "After consulting with my doctors, we think it's best that I take some additional time to rest." The 24-year-old added that he still looks forward to playing next week's PGA Championship at Valhalla. Todd Lewis joins us now from Quail Hollow. T. Lou, what have you learned about this story?
Well, first off, Ludvig Åberg was planning on playing the Wells Fargo Championship. As a matter of fact, at home, he was practicing and playing, getting ready to compete here in Charlotte. But he noticed that his left knee was swollen. Now, the interesting point of this and the fact that there was no pain, just swelling. Now, it's his left knee. And if you have knee issues, if you're a golfer, the left knee is probably the worst because you turn and post up on that left knee if you're a right-handed player. But again, no pain, according to Ludvig and his camp, involved in his knee, but there is that swelling. And after consulting with doctors, Ludvig and his doctor's medical team decided that it is best to maybe rest, take this week off, apply some ice to that knee, and then hopefully the swelling will reduce, and then he'll make his way to Louisville, Kentucky for the for the PGA Championship at Valhalla. But that is the issue. It is his left knee with some swelling, but according to Ludvig and his camp, no pain in that knee, so that is a good sign. Now, of course, Åberg's having a phenomenal year. Over his last 4 starts, he hasn't finished outside the top 15, which includes a second-place finish at the Masters. So we'll see how that knee progresses over the next few days and if it'll be a factor at the PGA Championship next week.
Todd, speaking of things that we're going to be missing at Quail Hollow, certainly going forward, the sponsor, Wells Fargo, is drawing to a close in terms of its relationship with the tournament there. Have you got any information yet in terms of what we're looking at going forward for this event?
Well, first off, let's note that Wells Fargo has been the title sponsor for this tournament here in Charlotte in more than 2 decades. This is a staple here in the Charlotte area, this tournament. It is supported, of course, by fans from North Carolina and South Carolina. You're going to expect large crowds here this week. But Wells Fargo is no longer going to be the sponsor after this tournament. Now, the price tag to be the title sponsor for a signature event on the PGA Tour is $25 million. Now, Wells Fargo and the PGA Tour did negotiate last year, but Wells Fargo did not quite meet that $25 million request from the PGA Tour, and so both sides parted ways. So now the PGA Tour is searching for a new sponsor here in Charlotte, and there were some questions that this tournament may actually move out of Charlotte, but the PGA Tour seems to have found a sponsor. It is Truist Bank. Now, Truist is a Charlotte-based bank, and it's a staple here in the community, and it seems to be that announcement is going to be made in the next couple of weeks. It will not be made this week, but Truist Bank looks to be the title sponsor here for this tournament moving forward. And Johnny Harris, who is the president of Quail Hollow, who is a fixture here in Charlotte, is going to make sure that this tournament stays here in Charlotte, and it looks like Truist Bank is going to be the new title sponsor. Again, that announcement not happening this week. With respects to Wells Fargo, they want to celebrate, the club and the PGA Tour wants to celebrate what Wells Fargo has done here over 22 years, but Truist Bank is going to be the new title sponsor, it looks like, for the PGA Tour signature event here in Charlotte.
Todd Lewis reporting from Quail Hollow. Much more from him in the next hour as Wells Fargo's sponsorship comes to a close. How critical is it that a robust sponsor takes hold of this event? As Todd said, this is a staple of the PGA Tour. I've been fortunate to cover it about a half dozen times, and from the beginning, it always kind of felt like a bit of a mini Masters, just in terms of the quality of the golf course. I'm talking about every blade of grass, in perfect place. How the wives and the caddies were taken care of, and the players. This is golf country. This is an important stop on the PGA Tour.
And if you go to any other community on the PGA Tour schedule, you'd probably hear the same story, that the tournaments matter in the communities that they're in. And certainly, whenever you're talking about the new system that exists on tour with signature events, there becomes a very significant financial onus on sponsors. And let's be clear here, the PGA Tour didn't create this situation. Player greed created this situation where you can go to long-time sponsors who have given so much to this game and to their communities and to the tour, in this case, for 20 years and your $20 million isn't enough. We want more. That's why those sponsors aren't there. It's the players and the greed of players. So the players are in no position at any point in this process to point fingers at either sponsors or tournament organizers or tour executives and say, you are eroding the sponsor base here. The sponsor base is perilous because more is being asked of them to satisfy the greed of players.
Is there no going back? Is the genie out of the bottle in terms of those numbers and someone saying, hey, we're doing just fine? Or is it too late in this, once battle and now negotiation, non-negotiation between PGA Tour and LIV?
There's a going back if we do get to a point where sponsors say, you know what, this product does not deserve that level of investment, that it's a niche sport and it can't possibly deliver the marketing return beyond what we agreed to sign up for initially, knowing what we were getting. And certainly if you don't see the best players compete often enough and you don't see them play well, well then the sponsors are going to, as fans do, occasionally question the product and why am I not getting the satisfaction that I want. So the onus really here is on players. There's a new sponsor lined up here for Charlotte. So you can turn around and say, okay, well, the tour has done its job. You wanted more money. We've got somebody to come in and do it. What are you delivering for the sponsor? Because the reality, as we move through what the new tour is going to look like, particularly with the Strategic Sports Group private equity investment, players are out of their mind if they think that they're now going to get paid purely for playing good golf for 4 days or making a cut. A lot more is going to be asked of them in terms of fan engagement and sponsor interaction. That the old way of doing it where you just simply got paid to play doesn't actually apply anymore. It's not going to apply going forward, and the sponsors are entitled to ask for a little bit more out there. And this is why you see so much tension on tour these days in the locker room among the sort of the have-yachts and the have-nots.
Yeah.
The guys who are in a field like this week, and you see even two board members in Adam Scott and Webb Simpson having gotten their 4th sponsor invitation this year to a $25 million purse. And that doesn't sit well with a lot of guys in the locker room who are being told and facing the reality that their playing opportunities are going to dwindle, that they have a card, but you don't really have much priority ranking out there. And so there are all of these kind of competing agendas out on the tour these days between the rank and file members and the actual elite players. And right now, the fans are starting to feel squeezed, the sponsors are starting to feel squeezed, and it is all due to what players believe they're entitled to be paid.
Competing interests around the world of golf, competing interests within the PGA Tour. For the last couple of years, we've been talking a lot more than just birdies and bogeys, it seems.
And there's always going to be a lot more to talk about on that front, Eamon.